Dear ladies and gentlemen, His Excellency the Ukrainian Ambassador, dear guest speakers, it is my pleasure to welcome you to this exclusive webinar on privatization in Ukraine at the height of summer. I would like to congratulate the Export Guarantee and Insurance Corporation (YGAP), the State Property Fund and GOLAW law firm as a whole for taking the initiative to organize this event dedicated to opportunities that are increasingly gaining prominence. Also, we are very happy to have local Czech partner law firm PRK Partner, and we appreciate their support. The event is also supported by the Embassy of Ukraine in the Czech Republic. It is my honor and great pleasure to pass the microphone for the welcome speech to His Excellency Mr. Yevgen Perebeynis, the Ambassador Extraordinary and Plenipotentiary of Ukraine to Czech Republic.
Дякую. Доброго дня всім учасникам сьогоднішньої зустрічі. Я насамперед хотів би подякувати юридичній фірмі GOLAW і чеському агентству EGAP за організацію цієї зустрічі з такою актуальною темою. Власне, Чеська Республіка сама має великий досвід приватизаційних процесів і взагалі досвід трансформації колишньої планової так званої економіки у успішну ринкову економіку, яку вона пройшла, я маю на увазі цей процес трансформації Чеська Республіка пройшла на початку 90-х років, в тому числі, звичайно ж, і приватизаційні процеси досить масштабні відбувалися в цій країні. І незважаючи на те, що, звичайно ж, є люди, які досить критично ставляться до тих процесів, які відбувалися в Чехії на початку 90-х років, але в цілому це був дуже успішний досвід, який і призвів до того успішного результату, який сьогодні демонструє Чехія, з тим, що вона є однією з провідних економік Європейського Союзу. Ну, але сьогодні ми говоримо про приватизаційні процеси в Україні, які також мають свою певну історію, які також мають певну перспективу. І я дуже сподіваюся, що сьогоднішня зустріч буде дуже цікавою і корисною для чеських партнерів, особливо враховуючи те, що сьогоднішній розвиток України демонструє досить позитивні тенденції, як з огляду на розвиток і економіки, так і з огляду на ті приватизаційні процеси, які сьогодні пропонуються, в тому числі для іноземних партнерів. Я думаю, що сьогодні нашим чеським партнерам буде цікаво дізнатися про ті можливості для інвестицій, які відкриваються сьогодні в Україні, про ті реформи, які сьогодні проходять в нашій державі, про, скажімо, дерегуляцію підприємницької діяльності, про поліпшення бізнес-клімату, про підвищення ефективності управління державними інвестиціями і державним сектором економіки, про реформу податкової і митної служб, про енергетичний сектор і про імплементацію угоди про асоціацію між Україною та Європейським Союзом і створення зони вільної торгівлі між Україною і ЄС. Я думаю, що буде цікаво дізнатися, і я сподіваюся, що про це також сьогодні прозвучить, про інші реформи, які сьогодні проходять в нашій державі, і це і реформа системи охорони здоров'я, і пенсійну систему, і реформу правоохоронних і судових органів, про боротьбу з корупцією, звичайно, і перехід на європейські стандарти в державному управлінні. Сьогодні, як я вже сказав, ті процеси, які відбуваються в Україні, закладають надійну основу для стабілізації української економіки. За оцінками Міністерства економіки України, в нинішньому році ми очікуємо ріст ВВП України, незважаючи на пандемію і на взагалі економічну кризу, на рівні більше 4%. А у наступному році ця тенденція має продовжуватися, і взагалі ми очікуємо, що в найближчі роки траєкторія зростання української економіки буде не менше 5%. Можливо, кілька слів коротко про наші відносини з Чеською Республікою, зокрема у сфері торговельній і економічній. Чехія на сьогодні є одним з провідних українських партнерів в Європі. За обсягом для України, зокрема, для українського експорту, Чехія зараз належить до 15 найбільших ринків для українських експортерів у світі і 7-8 місце серед країн Європи. Мені здається, що це досить непоганий показник. І найголовніше, що протягом нинішнього року ми бачимо надзвичайно стрімке зростання нашої двосторонньої торгівлі. Це понад 60%, а український експорт навіть за перший квартал зріс на понад 80%. Тому ми маємо всі підстави очікувати, що нинішній рік може стати взагалі рекордним в плані зростання українсько-чеської торгівлі. Важливі тут не самі цифри, а те, що вони демонструють тенденцію з обох сторін зацікавлення як з боку українського бізнесу, так і з боку чеського бізнесу до України. Це демонструє також і те, що в Україні успішно працює понад 200 чеських компаній, які мають в Україні свої представництва і мають досить позитивний досвід співпраці з українськими партнерами. Тому ми сподіваємося, що на цьому чеський бізнес не зупинятиметься, що він активно підключатиметься як до коопераційних зв'язків з Україною, так і до участі в приватизаційних та інвестиційних процесах в нашій державі, які пропонують дуже зараз багато цікавих рішень. І тут я хочу сказати, що наше посольство, і зокрема торговельно-економічний відділ, який працює, готові надавати необхідну консультаційну підтримку тим чеським компаніям, які можуть бути зацікавлені у приватизації цікавих об'єктів на території України. Ми вже зараз маємо у своєму портфелі цікаві пропозиції, які приходять з України, і ми їх передаємо до відповідних чеських економічних палат. Але якщо серед учасників сьогоднішньої зустрічі є компанії, які мають у цьому інтерес, вони можуть і окремо звертатися до нас. Я, щоб не займати ваш час, на цьому зупинюся і хочу побажати всім учасникам сьогоднішньої зустрічі плідної роботи і, головне, результативної роботи, яка, сподіваюся, виліться в те, що за результатами сьогоднішньої зустрічі серед чеського бізнесу з'являться потенційні інвестори і компанії, які візьмуть участь у приватизаційних процесах в Україні. Дякую і успішної вам роботи.
Дякую, пане посол, за такі надихаючі слова. Thank you, Mr. Ambassador, for your inspirational words. And now I would like to present our panel of speakers for today. So So we'll have a direct and fresh insights from Olga Batova as an advisor of the head of the State Property Fund of Ukraine. Later, we will have Michal Pravda as the Deputy Director of the Expert Credit and Investment Insurance Department of IAGAP, as well as ourselves, professionals from GOLAW law firm, Alexander Melnik, our senior associate, and myself, Max Lebedyev, as a partner of the firm. So as you can see, we have a pretty much well-settled team of experts to implement any privatization project. And I will now hand over to Ms. Batova, a super experienced and very well knowledgeable person of the State Property Fund. Olga, could you please give us a real picture of privatization in Ukraine? What are the latest plans of the State Property Fund? What is on sale?
Hello, I'm very glad to participate in this meeting. And of course, I'm very glad that foreign investors from the Czech Republic are interested in investments to our country. And I want to say that of course, Ukraine now is the country where you can find ROI much higher than in any other country. And the second thing is that Ukraine is, I think, the last country where privatization process just started. And you have a great opportunity to participate in it. Today in Ukraine, we have about 3,600 legal entities, the state-owned ones. So there are a lot of future auctions where you can participate. First of all, I want to say that last year, 2020 and 2019, the main things that the State Property Fund of Ukraine made, it was the change of the principles and the mechanism of the privatization process, which regained the trust to the market. The fund is in a full contact now with the potential investors and the professional competitors, the business associations, chambers, and etc. We also have the investment office that is ready to help to any foreign or Ukrainian new potential new investor. And the main thing that we have launched the virtual data room. That means that now you can be in any part here in our country or in another one, and you can know the information about the assets that the State Property Fund is planning to sell. That means that there is no chance for somebody to know something more, and every investors know the whole information. You can visit our site privatization.gov.ua, where you can find the documents, the teasers, and VDR, and just to sign the agreement and to get the access to the whole and massive block of information. Well, I think that we can go further. Yes, this is our results. You can see that in 2020, we earned to the budget of Ukraine 92 million euro. That is 6 times more than we had in 2019. Here in Ukraine, we have two kinds of privatization: the small privatization and the big privatization. The difference is in the amount of money that the company costs due to the balance sheet. So the processes of small privatization and big privatization differs. The small privatization take place in the system a prozorimi sale. That's an electronic kind of auction where you can participate, and the process of the big privatization, it takes place with the advisor that makes due diligence to all the processes and documents and of the company that is proposed to privatization. And then the investor has to contact with this advisor to get the information and so on. This year, we will have a lot of assets from the small privatization. These assets start the price less than 250 million hryvnias. And of course, these assets are very interested because you can find the agro assets, prisons. It's one more kind of small privatization that we started, and also the alcohol plants and so on. If we are speaking about the large-scale privatization assets, you can see here in a presentation that we are planning to sell 23 assets of large-scale privatization. 3 of them we are planning to have this year. And on the 31st of August, we are planning to have the first big privatization for about, I think, 10 years in our country. That will be the UMCC. UMCC is United Mining and Chemical Company. It consists of the mining and metallurgical plant. It is specialized in development of titanium and zircon deposits and production of rutile, ilmenite and zirconium in concentrate. UMCC accounts for about 3% of world production volumes of the titanium containing substances. 90% of the company's production is exported. There is a sustainable demand of the production of UMCC on external markets of the titanium and minerals. The privatization advisor, you can see here, it is BDO in corporate finance in a consortium with Baker Tilly. And I think that last week the cabinet of ministers said that the starting price will be 112 million euro. We expect more than 10 new potential investors, and now we are making hard work to communicate with each investor who wants to participate in this auction. And the more important thing is that last week on Friday, we had the state document that canceled some licenses to a few oligarchs that had the titanium licenses. And of course, that means that for the investor of UMCC, it is important to know that after the investor will buy UMCC, he can also buy licenses to other places where these deposits are. That means that the time you can use UMCC like a plant for enrichment in your services and will be higher. The second, so UMCC, the auction is on the 31st of August. So you don't have so much time. So hurry up, and we will be glad to have investors from Czech Republic in our privatization auction. The second large-scale privatization asset that we are planning to sell this year, it is the first Kyiv machine and building plant. It's a pity, but this case is the example when the government and the state doesn't manage to be a businessman. So this in the first Kyiv in the machine and building plant doesn't work and produce anything. Nowadays it is just an area. Total area of your facilities is 300,000 square meters. It is located almost in the center of Kyiv. And the key features of this asset is, of course, its location. A privatization advisor is KPMG in a consortium with BDO, Cushman and Wakefield. We are planning to have the auction in October this year, but you can contact to KPMG now to ask questions and of course to make things to be ready for this asset.
Have anything else for sale?
Yes, of course. We have a lot of
Odessa.
We have a lot of else yet to sell. I think that I lost one page in our presentation. I think, yes, we have also the third large-scale privatization this year. It will be the President Hotel. Well, I think I lost this page.
Yeah, we don't have it.
I'm sorry. So the President's Hotel is a big hotel situated in the historical part of Kyiv. The Concord Capital is the advisor that now is preparing this asset for the auction. And we also think that privatization of the President Hotel will take place in October or on November this year. Here all the information about large-scale privatization and assets you can find on our website privatization.gov.ua. So you can also see there on the everyday time what more appears there. So I invite you to visit it. It also has the English language, so that won't be a problem to understand something. The Odessa and Portside plant is one of the hardest large-scale privatization in our country, because rumors about privatization, they take place, I think, from the day of appearance of Ukraine. About 2 weeks ago, Odessa Portside plant won a court and now the plant doesn't have a debt to Dmitry Firtash Group. So that was the main reason we couldn't sell in privatization auction Odessa Portside plant, because of this legal problems. So I think that now we are ready to have last steps and to have the auction, I hope, in March next year. Odessa Port plant is a nitrogen fertilizer producer and export transshipment company located in Odessa region near the Black Sea coastline. The plant consists of two ammonia production units with total annual capacity of 1,100,000 tons and two carbamide production units with total annual capacity of 860,000 tons. It accounts for 23% of total ammonia output and 18% of total carbamide output in Ukraine, and exports about 19% of its current production to more than 30 countries. Privatization advisor is the Pericles Global Advisory in consortium with SARS and Capital, the Kinsteller and White and Case Europe and KPMG. You can also visit our site, privatization.gov.ua, and there you can find the contacts of the advisor. So I hope that at least after 30 years, we will manage to sell Odessa and Portside plant next year. The next big block of large-scale privatization is electricity distribution system operators. We have 6 of it now in the state-owned. Regional power distributors supplying customers in their respective areas, usually one Noble Energo for one region, province. Noble Energos own and operate 1 million kilometers of grids. They also have transformer substations and switching and metering equipment. Among 30 providers of electricity distributor services in Ukraine, So 30 around Ukraine, and 6 of them are planned to be sold, I think, in first or second quarter of the next year. And also the great news for privatization of electricity distribution system operations is that last year we had RAB tariffs, so you can be inconvenient now for ROI and for what tariffs you will have and operate in this business. I think that about the large-scale privatization, that was almost everything I want to tell. I'm ready to answer the questions or something like that.
Oh, thank you, Olga. It was quite interesting and well-composed information, to be honest. And I am very happy that we have so modern design that can be developed by the State Property Fund, which is very unusual. But now you have quite a well-established website with all the information about the objects, this quite interesting and easy to understand presentations. So I think that everything that is needed for investor is ready. So we are looking just for a right person for a right object. And we will have another questions for you a bit later. And now I would like, it was partially covered by Olga, the differences between the small scale and large scale privatization, but maybe just to one more time to emphasize that the difference, the major difference is that the price of the objects for the large scale privatization is more than 250 million hryvnias, and for the small scale it's less than 250 million hryvnias. And also that in large scale privatization the auctions is always offline, and review of the documents submitted by participants is held before the auction. And also the participation in large-scale privatization can propose amendments to the sale and purchase agreement before the auction. In small scale, the auction is always online, therefore it is necessary to create an account on the authorized platform working with Prozoro. Also, documents submitted by the participants are verified often after the auction, and if the submitted documents do not comply with the requirements of the legislation, the winner of the auction may lose its guarantee payment. So we have this schematic and simplified scheme, and it's pretty raw scheme actually, to be honest, because the procedure for the large scale is a bit more complicated with more details. And to be honest, we also have this presentation for each specific object that is on sale now. It was prepared by the State Property Fund. So if interested, please let us know, and we will share with you the information about each step in privatization auction and in preparation and post-closing procedures for specific objects, because it was prepared by the advisor for specific auction. So you can see that for the large-scale privatization procedure, we have at first to choose the asset, to check it, to make a due diligence, submit the documents, then the documents will be reviewed by the State Property Fund, the participation in auction itself, then the conclusion of agreement, and basically the payment and anti-monopoly clearance. In a small scale, at first you should register on electronic platform, choose the asset, submit the documents, participate in auction, and only after the State Property Fund will review the documents, and then the winner will conclude the agreement, and if necessary, also anti-monopoly clearance shall be received. So it's like, in a very briefly, to give you a bit more understanding what is the difference between the different objects and the procedure provided by the legislation. But let's jump in more details about the requirements for buyers and any peculiarities that we have for foreigners. And now I would like to pass the microphone to my colleague, Alexander. Alexander, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Max. Hello, everyone. I want to tell about the buyers, about the requirements established by the law to the buyers. So it is a useful information in order for you to understand whether you are liable to participate in Ukrainian privatization or not. So in general, the law allows participation for both individuals and companies, as well as national and foreign. So the Czech individuals or companies can participate in privatization. However, there are some restrictions, of course. The law defines exhaustive list of persons who cannot participate in privatization and respectively cannot be a winner of the auction. So you can see on the slide all these exceptions. So the first one is the buyers registered in offshores with non-transparent ownership structure. The list of jurisdictions which are deemed offshores in Ukraine is defined by a cabinet of ministers of Ukraine. And this list contains, for example, Isle of Man, Guernsey, Jersey, Belize, Panama, BVO, Bermuda, and other classic offshores. Non-transparent ownership structure means that the absence of all legally required information about the beneficial owner. So, in case you want to participate in privatization by using the company registered in one of these jurisdictions, make sure that the beneficial owners of the company are fully disclosed. In such case, you will be liable to participate in privatization. The second exception is buyers from Russian Federation or under control of the Russian state or under control of persons from Russian Federation. I think it's clear. The next is companies from countries put by FATF to the list of jurisdictions which do not cooperate on anti-money laundering in their direct or indirect subsidiaries. So therefore, if the business is structured with the use of foreign companies, you should check the current FATF list and determine whether your structure meets the requirements. Currently, there are only two countries in the list. It's Democratic People's Republic of Korea and Iran. The next interesting exception is company with not disclosed information about beneficiaries. Of course, it mostly refers to Ukrainian companies because our law contains requirements for the Ukrainian companies to renew information about beneficial owners annually or during each registration action. However, foreign investors shall also submit information about their beneficial owners. This information shall be fully disclosed, which means that the information shall contain all information about the beneficial owner, such as full name, date of birth, a country of citizenship, passport, information about the passport, and so on. The next exception is persons under the sanctions and their affiliated persons. Currently, there is no single list of all persons included to the persons to which the sanctions imposed. However, the list of persons is contained in each separate decree of the President of Ukraine, which impose sanctions to certain legal entities or individuals. This full list of decrees can be found on official website of the National Security and Defense Council. So, if you prepare to privatization, we recommend you to check whether you or your affiliated persons are in the list. In this connection, it should be emphasized that this restriction also refers to affiliated persons. Within the meaning of Ukrainian law, affiliated persons, individuals, are spouses, parents, children, brothers, and sisters. Individual is deemed affiliated with the legal entity in case such an individual, for example, directly or indirectly owns corporate rights of the legal entity for 25% or more, or is an ultimate beneficial owner of such a legal entity, or had the right to appoint executive body, and so on. So in case, for example, you are not in the sanction list, but one of your affiliates is in the sanction list, you will be prohibited from privatization in Ukraine. The next is persons and their affiliates who have taken part in privatization previously and agreements on sale purchase with them have been terminated. So in case you or your affiliate have previously participated and privatized the object, but then the sale and purchase agreement was terminated due to your violation of your obligation, you will no longer have a right to participate in future in privatization. Therefore, your affiliates and your structure shall be checked thoroughly. Okay, we can go to the next slide. So, of course, if we speak about peculiarities of participation of foreign investors, should be noted that in vast majority cases, it is the same as for Ukrainian participants. However, there are some peculiarities that shall be taken into account by foreign investors. First, that it is possible to participate in privatization directly or via SPV, for it is not necessary to create a company in Ukraine in order to participate. There are minor differences in documents for submission. In general, documents are the same. However, foreign investor shall submit documents in Ukrainian. Also, the documents issued in accordance with the legislation of a foreign state must be legalized, whether it's consular legalization or apostille, unless otherwise provided by international treaties. According to international treaty between Ukraine and Czech Republic, apostille is not required for the documents issued by official state bodies. So foreign citizens shall submit documents on property and income just to prove the source of funds used for purchase and a copy of passport. In its turn, the legal entity shall submit translated document confirming registration in the country of its location. Also, the foreign investors shall consider that not all electronic platforms work with foreigners. As was mentioned before, in order to purchase the small-scale privatization object, you shall register with one of the electronic platforms. Some of them cannot obtain payments from non-resident. Therefore, you will be unable to pay the security deposit. Therefore, we recommend to choose the platform beforehand and check the availability for participation. And also, it should be considered that in case foreign investor decides to establish an SPV, requirements for submission of financial statements should be considered. It is one of the risks because considering that the last annual or quarter financial statement shall be submitted in order to participate, the newly established company in some cases may not have these documents, which will lead to impossibility for participation. Therefore, if you're planning to structure the sale and participate in privatization using SPV, we recommend to structure it in advance. Foreign investors often ask whether the SPV is required. Again, there is no need to create Ukrainian company, but the necessity of establishing a Ukrainian company for the participation in privatization mainly depends on the type of the asset, the planned activity, and the tax aspect. For example, in the case of privatization of shares of state-owned company, there is no need to create a local company for privatization. But if the object of privatization is, for example, real estate or property complex that provides certain activities, for example, place of business of Ukraine Spirit and so on, it is worth considering the option of creating an SPV. This is due to the fact that you will have to pay a VAT. You will need to register with the tax authority at the location of such property. And for example, for carrying out of certain activities, it will be required to obtain a license, which can be granted only to Ukrainian residents or representative office of non-residents. Also, if you are planning, for example, to lease your this asset, please note that non-resident can lease the property only through the agent, who will be responsible for taxation. So if the property needs to be used for business, it is advisable to take care of creating Ukrainian company. Okay, let's go further to the next slide. We will tell how to participate.
Yeah, Alexander, before we will go about in deep details about the documents, I have one question for Olga. How do you think why foreign investors should consider to participate in auction in Ukraine? I mean, do we have any special advantages for foreigners? How do you?
Well, according to law, there is no advantage between Ukrainian investors or the foreign ones, but the thing is that in Ukraine, usually the government authorities acts more careful to foreign investors, and you can be sure that you will have a little bit better communication with the tax authorities and so on. That's because we are very interested in foreign in capital and the foreign investors. So the government and politics now say that we are ready to make everything to make our foreign investor happy. So I think that you will feel it if you want to take a part. And also I want to say that according to the procedures that we made, you won't be in a situation that you don't know something and the Ukrainians know, and you will not have a situation when somebody will use the procedures that are not
transparent. Is not transparent.
Yeah. So we are ready to make everything to make our investor happy.
Okay, good. Sounds very ambitious. And to be honest, I need to say that, I mean, we need to remind everyone that it is one-time promotion. It is one-time option for use option to buy this exclusive objects that are on sale. And it is the same situation for a foreign investor or for a Ukrainian investor. But okay, let's continue with the documents and peculiarities of the auction. Alexander, will you please proceed?
Of course, thank you. So, of course, in order to participate in auction, you shall submit the list of documents prescribed by the law. A documents list, in fact, is very simple and includes only those documents which you can see on the slide. So it's a simple application. It's a proof of payment of security deposit. In case of large-scale privatization, you pay 5% of the starting price or can provide a bank guarantee. In case of small-scale privatization, it's 10% from the starting price. Then you shall submit a consent to terms, conditions of future related future obligations related to use of the purchased asset. It can be, for example, some obligations for investments or something like this. Individuals shall submit passport and documents proving source of funds. And companies provide standard package of documents. It's extract from the commercial register, information about beneficial owners, and the last annual or quarter financial statement. So I think it's like very simple bunch of documents. As to peculiarities of auctions, as Max and Olga said before, the auction process differs for the large-scale and small-scale privatization. Large-scale privatization, so upon your submission of documents and its review, State Property Fund will check it, and in case everything is okay with the document, the participant will be admitted to participate in the auction. On the date of the auction, your representative shall register in the offline auction. The registration starts at least 1 hour before the auction and ends 10 minutes before the auction. The auction will be held in case minimum 2 buyers participate and no less than 1 step of bidding was made. The auction is deemed started from the announcement of opening bid, and raises shall be not less than 1%. In case only 1 participant applied, the auction is deemed void, and State Property Fund had the right to adopt a decision to sell the asset to the sole participant. After the auction, the winner shall sign the minutes, and in case he refuses to sign the minutes, the auction deemed void, and the winner and its beneficial owner will lose the right to participate in future in auctions for this particular asset. And of course, will lose the security deposit. As to the online, to the small-scale privatization, these auctions are held online. For the purpose of private participation, each buyer shall register on an electronic platform which works with Prozoro. And the law determines 3 main types of auctions for the small-scale privatization. So I think it's like 3 steps. First auction, first step, it's auctions with or without conditions, which prescribe the raising of bids. So the starting price will be at 100% of balance value of the asset, and each participant shall give the closed bid no less than the starting price. And after that, the bidding starts, and the electronic platform will give 3 rounds for 3 minutes each, and each participant can bid. Bid's priority determined from the lowest to highest bid, which means that the participant who proposed the higher bid has a priority and bids makes his bids after all the other participants, which gives an advantage. In case none of the buyers applied for the first auction, the second auction shall be announced. The second auction is the same as the first, but the starting price will be lower for 50%. In case none of the buyers applied for the second auction, the third Dutch auction shall be announced. Dutch auction prescribes the reduction of price. This reduction performed automatically and starting from the 50% of the opening bid. So your task here will be to lock the bid on certain price. For example, if starting price 1 million, you can wait until the price will be lowered to, for example, 800,000 and lock the bid. The participant who locks the bid is deemed as the winner of Dutch stage of the auction, and he will have a priority. After locking the bid, all the other participants, except the winner of the Dutch stage, shall submit their closed bids. These bids will be visible only for the winner of that Dutch stage, and he will determine whether he is ready to pay more, which was proposed by the others, or not. So something like this.
Okay. So are you finished? Have you finished?
Yeah, yes, nothing to add on this stage.
I have also one question, probably. I mean, we have certain tips from our side, but it will be also great to hear some tips, practical tips from Olga, probably for investors in participation or preparation for the auction. Do you have anything?
No, Alexander said the main thing that is very important in a small-scale privatization, that is about that when you have the stage of the first bid, it is very important to put the bid in amount you are ready to pay for this asset. If this amount will be the highest, you will have the great opportunity to have the last voice, and this means that you will have bigger chances to win this auction. But there are a lot of, not a lot of, but we had a few cases when the participant was the only one in this auction, and that means that if you bidded the sum of money, you have to pay it. That is why in such cases, these participants paid more than the started price, but that's life. And the second thing that is important is to have advisors. Of course, if you are the foreign investors, it is very important here in Ukraine to have good advisors who can help you with documents, who can help you with registration, and also who can help to choose the best advisor that has the license to participate in auctions in prozorы. That's also an important thing because some of them have a big practice, some of them not. So it's important not to make things that will ruin everything in future.
Okay, okay. Good. So we are moving forward. Would you like, Alexander, to comment this slide?
Yes, it's this slide represents what Olga said. So as you can see, it's a result of the small-scale electronic auction. It was a hotel Dnipro, and the winner of the auction, he bidded on the first stage. He bidded the highest. Proposed the highest price. Therefore, he had an advantage and won the auction because he just like gave the little bit higher price each step. And as you can see, the final bid was only 100 hryvnias difference, which helped them to win this asset. So,
okay,
that's all.
So probably we need to say also a few words about the financing and attracting borrowed capital. So just to say that the object of privatization can be purchased at the expense of own capital of the buyer or attracted capital. In the case of purchase by own funds, the source of their origin shall be provided by the documents which are submitted for participation. Basically, the servicing bank is responsible for checking the origination of funds. If the privatization asset is purchased at the expense of borrowed funds, the buyer must also provide information about the creditor, as well as documentary evidence that such creditor wishes to consider providing the appropriate amount of financing if such participant is selected as an auction winner. A creditor shall also comply with the requirements to the buyers. Accordingly, all the same information shall be provided about the creditor as about the buyer. The information and the documents shall allow to define and prove first the ultimate beneficial owner and compliance with the requirements to the buyers. And basically, the winner of the auction submits the information about the creditor, as well as documentary evidences that the creditor agrees to provide the appropriate amount of financing in a way of form of a letter at the stage of preparation of the draft contract of sale and purchase. So as you can see, you can use different sources of income for participation in auction and for the payment of the price. And I think it is the right time to give a word, to pass the microphone to Michal Pravda, the expert from the GOLAW, because they have very interesting and exclusive, I think, instruments and products for investors from the Czech Republic. Michal, you can share your screen.
Thank you, Max. Good afternoon to all participants, and I would like to share my presentation, which I have prepared for today. I will try to do it. Okay, hopefully now you will start to see the presentation.
Yeah, we see it.
Perfect. So I'm glad to be here today, and in the next 20 minutes, I would like to tell you basic principles of our investment insurance, which is a product especially designed for investors, for Czech investors abroad. I'm a deputy director of Export Credit and Investment Insurance Department in GOLAW, which you may probably know. So I will concentrate on 3 topics. First topic is a brief introduction of GOLAW, what we offer. The second topic would be the basic conditions of our investment products. And third topic would be practical possibilities of covering investments and investment loans of Czech investors into Ukraine. So let's move to our first topic, which is a brief introduction of GOLAW. As it was said, it's a Czech Export Credit Agency, so-called, which is government agency, which is established to support Czech exports and investments as well. We are governed by international regulations. The most important is so-called OECD consensus, which stipulates basic conditions mainly for so-called export credits. The investments are not so heavily regulated, so we have the freedom to design our investment products more or less how we need it or how the market needs those products. So we are on the market for already a long time. Next year we will celebrate the 30th anniversary. So our position on the market is that we are covered by the full state guarantee. We are owned by Ministry of Finance, but we are independent share company, so we have independent decision-making process, and all decisions about insurance are based on analysis of risk and decision of board of directors of GOLAW. So what we can offer is, let's say, state support in a way of insurance of exports and investments by means of ensuring risks associated with those transactions, which we divide into main categories as territorial risks, and the second category is commercial risk, which we will look into in the next slides. Sorry. We on this slide, I will try to say something about our first basic product for insuring investments of Czech investors abroad, which is the insurance type I. Sorry, it's my boss. I have to send him a short message maybe.
Busy time, summer busy time.
Very busy time.
We have nowadays such a life that we have been in contact 24 hours, 7 days a day, 7 days a week.
I'm very sorry, let's continue. So, eligible foreign investment is a share of Czech investor into in his daughter company, which can be a fully owned share, majority or even minority share in some joint venture. So we don't have this firm condition that it must be a majority in this basic product. It must be a long-term commitment, at least for 3 years of the Czech investor. And we insure basically Czech companies, not Czech private persons. And also the foreign company must be a company, not just physical assets. We insure the investor directly, and we protect him from territorial or political risks that could threaten his investment. And so insurance loss is defined as a full or partial loss of value of the investment caused by 3 basic types of risks or events in the host country. First is the impossibility of conversion and transfer of funds, let's say returns, profits, dividends, installments of loans, and so on. The second type is the expropriation, direct or indirect, the so-called creeping expropriation by discriminatory acts of host government or host authorities, host country authorities. And the third block of risk is political violence, including war, civil war, terrorist attack, and so on. So this is a quite usual product which a lot of other export credit agencies in the world also offer for their national investors. Commercial risks are not covered, so the investor has to somehow take those commercial risks that the investment will bring profits to him is his own risk, and EGAP cannot protect him from commercial losses from his investment. Self-retention is very low, so we cover 97.5% of suffered risks. There we have a simple picture. We are at the top, covering the investor with our insurance policy. The investor has a share in his daughter foreign company or in joint venture. And maybe in the background, we see the bank, which can provide some credit for his investments and also be a beneficiary of our insurance policy. But the standard model is that the beneficiary of insurance policy is the investor, Czech investor directly. We offer this product successfully for more than 20 years, but the market has required something for financing directly. So in 2007, we have introduced a completely new product, which is covering bank loans for financing of investments. And this insurance type of covering investment loans is called IF, F for financing, and it's comprehensive coverage of both territorial as well as commercial risks of non-repayment of the loan due to debtor's financial insolvency or unwillingness to pay. So this is a relatively more demanding product for analysis because we have to go quite let's say deeply into details of the project, of the numbers, of the cash flow forecast, of risks associated with the investments from the commercial point of view. So we need quite a lot of documents for providing this cover. Yeah, and the loan, the purpose of the loan is for acquisition existing company, which may be the case in this privatization in Ukraine, which is going on currently. It can be for acquisition of property, which is then put into newly established company as a daughter company of Czech investor. So there are different kinds of investments which can be financed by those foreign financing laws for Czech investors. And we have a condition of the majority ownership of the Czech investor, because if we are to be covering the commercial risk, we have to be somehow sure that the Czech investor is able to manage the operation of the foreign company and to take responsibility if the operation is not successful. And so we have a commercial recourse against the Czech investor. In usual models, investors should also bring some equity. It means own resources, which is a portion which should be at least 25%. So the loan can be maximum 75% of the investment value. Yeah, we need those documents: business plan, financial model, feasibility study, and different due diligences. Depends on the size and on the industrial branch of the investment, which kind of due diligence, and whether it's necessary to hire outside expert companies to provide some due diligences, or in smaller investment it may be not necessary. Self-retention for the insured bank is 5%, so slightly higher, but still very comfortable, 95% of gap cover. The picture for this product, which is quite unique still in the world, because I think only 2 or 3 others from the world insurance companies cover investment loans against also commercial risk, so-called comprehensive cover. So this is our specialty, and this product is very much demanded by the banks if any foreign direct investment is financed. I will not go into too much details. Basic is that we on the top cover both investor with previously mentioned insurance of his own investment by insurance type I, and this, the main contract here is for the bank, is on the right bottom right corner, right top corner, which is the insurance type of IF, which is directly provided for the bank. And the bank provides credit either directly to the daughter foreign company, maybe in Ukraine, can be direct debtor, or for the Czech investor, which then should somehow invest the money into his daughter company. And what is covered is the non-repayment of the loan. So it's a full guarantee for the financing banks. In case the loan is not repaid, the bank, after a waiting period of 6 months can come to EGAP and ask for indemnification according to original schedule of installments. Now I would like to move to the third and final topic, which I have prepared, especially about possibilities of covering investments and investment law into Ukraine, which is a territory which was a long time in the 7th category, which is the highest risk on OECD categorization scale, but last year it improved to 6. Also, all major ratings, international ratings, improved at that time. So we see it as still a little bit higher than average risk, but insurable. Insurable, which is also reflected by our insurance limit, which is currently on the level of 2.5 billion Czech crowns, with current utilization of less than 1/3, 28%. And the all current exposure is in export credits, short-term and long-term. And we have a portfolio of 16 different Ukrainian debtors in different branches, maybe mainly machinery, agriculture machinery, food and beverages, and also nuclear technology for well-known company like Energoatom. Basically, this is the majority of our experience in the field of export credits. But we have also insured historically one investment, one smaller scale investment in industrial daughter company of Czech investor producing some pipes, protective pipes for electricity cables on Ukraine, and we have had a very good experience with the operation. The investment was insured without loss, and the associated investment loan was repaid. So we can follow on this good experience. Yeah, there is of course a case that we have had a very high indemnification in the field of export credits, but it's all cases 10 years ago or more than 10 years ago, which some companies and banks went bankrupt in Ukraine, and we have paid out a lot of money. But we can say that last 5 years, the payment experience with our portfolio is improved significantly, and we have only, I think, one small loss which we paid out last year, very small one. Otherwise, the debtors are paying well. Regarding protecting of Czech investments into Ukraine, there is a valid bilateral investment treaty for already, I think, 20 years. So the investment climate we see as stable. We don't see any threats of political negative actions of Ukrainian government against foreign investors. So the climate is considered good. The main risk which remains is the economy, the national economy of Ukraine, and macroeconomic situation, and so on, which can but must not influence also operation of individual potential Czech investments in this country. Regarding insurance premium rates for the two mentioned products, the rates are relatively higher because the sixth category of Ukraine on the scale. So for investment against political risk, we charge almost 1% yearly or per annum from the insured value of the investment. And there is an example: if we have a bank loan with 8 years tenor, let's say 1 year drawdown, 7 years repayment period, or 2 years drawdown, 6 years repayment period, we would charge a premium from 5 to 7% flat paid up front from the amount of the principal of the loan. So this is the practical possibilities. It's not easy to find a product, to find a project which would be insurable at this very moment. There were some demands in, let's say, photovoltaic or other energy sectors, but we did not finalize. So up to now, we have only one insurance, one insured investment in the past, and nothing currently in the portfolio. This last slide is about our insurance process. We have 3 stages. There is first this insurance opportunity, which is usually some introductory meeting and some structuring, which we can help with and provide some advice to investors how to meet the criteria for the next stage, which is a preliminary assessment. Pre-scoring is in case that we cover the loans. see the numbers of the debtor, of the Czech investor, maybe some projection of cash flow of his investments, and we indicate some limit and rating for future insurance policy. And then if everything goes well, we perform a comprehensive assessment based on all the documentation that is also available on our website. All those documents that are necessary can be easily downloaded from our website. And then we go to analysis. If the analysis is with a positive result, then we go for approval process in the authorities, and we draft the insurance conditions and insurance policy. So that by that I would probably conclude, and there are some contact details on me, and I'm ready to, of course, answer any questions from the audience.
I have one question. Thank you, Michal, for your presentation. I think it's quite unique, and it's very important because, you know, the financing, the funds for the acquisition, I think is the main topic and the main issue for any investor. So my question is, what is the usual time frames for obtaining insurance from GOLAW?
Yeah, good practical question. Depends on the size of the investment, and also depends on the situation with the documentation. Usually small scale investments, let's say a couple of million euros, are not so difficult regarding that we do not need so many documents, and also the approval process is on the lowest level. So, and the third factor is whether the investor asks only for political risk cover, then it's quite easy because it's only based on the basic documents. So the case when we should discuss political risk cover for investor, we can conclude, let's say, insurance policy in 3 or 4 weeks from the application which is submitted to GOLAW. The time is more demanding in case there is insurance of investment loans or bank loans, because we need more documents and mainly regarding the financial analysis, and also we need the conclusion of assessment performed by bank which is asking for insurance, so in the case of loans it can take, let's say, 3 or 4 weeks the analysis itself, and then the approval process, which in small loans up to a couple of million of euros can last, let's say, 1 week because it's only 2 directors from GOLAW. But if we are more than 4 million euros roughly, we have to go to insurance committee, which is another week of approval process. And if we are above 20 million euros, we have to go to board, which is usually another week of approval process. And if we are a couple of millions higher, then we also have to inform our supervisory board. So in those highest investment loans, the approval process itself lasts 1 month at least, and analysis before also 1 month. So it's of course based on everything, all the documents delivered according to our need. If the documents are not appropriate, not complete, then it can last not 2 months, but it can last 3 months or even more. So
yeah, we know that sometimes that happens. I mean, this question, thank you for your response, because we have similar question from one of our participants. How much time does the investor have to apply before the auction and after the announcement? So as far as I know, for the small scale privatization, we have only 1 month from the announcement till the auction. So within 1 month, you should be ready with all the documents and also with confirmation of your funds. Therefore, I don't think that after the announcement you have time to go to EGAP. I mean, at least you can do your homework and prepare in advance, because you know in general that there is a list of the small-scale privatization objects, and you can you can try to find suitable objects and try to negotiate with the EGAP and with banks in advance. For the small-scale privatization, for the large-scale, now for the first object of UMCC, that was suggested for 31st of August, so it's 2 months already. So it's also pretty much tight deadlines, but I mean, it is, in theory, it is possible. And also we have another question. Let me see. What are usual timeframes for investor for the preparation to participate in the auction? Maybe Alexander, would you like to answer?
So it's basically the same question, I think, that was.
No. I think that the question here is how much time do you need to be prepared? So basically, if you need to set up a company, to make a due diligence, to maybe to have any other due diligence, maybe technical due diligence. So you need to be ready to spend at least several months.
I think so, because I think that you shall prepare beforehand because of these requirements to buyers. In case you are planning to establish a company, please consider that some documents shall be provided from your side, from Czech Republic, then they shall be translated. And about due diligence, it also depends on the availability of the documents. Then registration on the electronic platform takes a few days. Payment of the security deposit takes several days too, because it's not credited at the moment. Please take into the account that you shall have.
Yeah, but we need to consider also that we need some time to transfer money from the foreign investor to Ukraine, because usually we have financial monitoring and anti-money laundering check, and then they will definitely ask for the source of income and then all other.
So it all depends on the structure of the purchase. So if you're planning to participate directly, it is one time frames. In case you're planning to use Ukrainian company, it's completely different. So we recommend to, if you are interested in general in privatization in Ukraine, you have access to the assets now. Just visit the website privatization.gov.ua and you can see all the assets proposed for privatization in future. And in case one of the objects is interesting for you, you can start preparing. The sooner the better, I think.
Yeah, and we have only one slide with the usual typical mistakes. Olga, we have also comments from your side, please.
Yeah, I wanted to comment this question also. The very right thing that Alexander said, that that all the assets that are planning to be privatized, they are already on the website. You usually can't find there a specific information, due diligence and so on, because they are in process now, but you can see the list. And you can contact to the fund and visit this asset and start it earlier than the announcement of the auction. The second thing is that the process of incoming and new assets for privatization is not stopping now. So we have new assets from the ministers and other authorities in Ukraine. Last month, I think we took about 50 new state-owned companies for a privatization. So the process we will announce new assets is and continue.
So yeah, so it's a moving picture. So you have all the time you have new fresh assets on sale.
Yes, yes.
Okay, good. Thank you. So yeah, and one slide probably there's some summary of typical mistakes of Ukrainian and foreign investor basically that we see in the history of privatization in Ukraine in the modern history. Is not submitting all the required documents, ignoring the first auction. I mean, it's not a mistake. Usually, I think it's their plan for not taking participation in the first auction to pay less in the second or third auction. And no legal and no technical due diligence. I think, I mean, it's obvious mistake. At any asset, you need to go in detail on the documents, and sometimes you need also technical people that will check technical questions. Not taking into account the VAT considerations is a usual problem. You need to think that the price you need to add VAT on top. Not expecting the assets before, and for the VAT to take the VAT credit, you need to have a Ukrainian SPV. If not, foreign investor will not be able to have a VAT credit. Not inspecting the assets before the auction, a real inspection is needed. Late payment of the security deposit, yes, sometimes that happened, and we also need to take into account that between the banks for the transfer, there is certain time that is needed. Improper review of the buyer's ownership structure affiliates, and ignoring the deadlines. Alexandra, will you comment somehow these two last points?
Yes, about the improper review of buyer's ownership structure, it's about these restrictions we mentioned before. So it is strongly recommended your ownership structure, whether it is transparent and does not contain any restricted persons, as well as you shall check your affiliates. Are they not in sanction list, or have they already participated in privatization? Maybe the privatization agreement was terminated. So it shall be checked before the auction, because you can lose the asset and you can lose the security deposit. And about the deadlines for submission of documents, it's about that all the documents, this simple list, shall be submitted before the auction, because we saw a lot of cases, court cases, when some of the participants did not submit all the required documents on the stage before the auction, but provided these documents later. And unfortunately, it doesn't work like that. So you shall have this package of documents before.
Okay, thank you.
Maybe one comment. So it's not about the mistake, but about the preparation. So you shall consider that there are only 3 cases when you can be prohibited from privatization. So if you don't comply with the requirements to the buyers, so it shall be checked. If you did not submit all the documents, and if you submit false information. I think that it's very simple 3 rules to adhere.
Okay, good, thank you. So I can see, do we have any other questions from the audience? No, we don't. So we answered both questions. Do we have any other comments from speakers? Olga?
Yes, of course. I want to tell one more time that Ukraine is the only country in Europe that has so much state-owned enterprises. And the process of privatization, we think, will take place maximum 2 to 3 years. The biggest maximum, I think, 4 or 5 years. But according to this information, you have a great chance to invest to Ukraine. And of course, I understand the risks that Michael told us, but also Ukraine is the country where you can see return on investments up to 20-25% per year. You won't find such markets in the whole world now, and it's the country that is situated in Europe and between the Asia and Europe and so on. I also want to tell that today I told a lot about large-scale privatization, but we also have assets for anyone, starting from the real estate from 100 square meters to the Odessa airport plant. So everyone can find something he is interested in. We also have now big parts of the small privatization, like the plants of spirit. Some of them doesn't work, but they are the great places with electricity, with railway and so on. So it's a good place to start producing something, not only spirit. Also, we have a big block, as I told already, for prisons. We sell closed prisons. It's always a very big amount of square meters in the center and all the big cities. For example, about 2 weeks ago, we sold a non-working prison in Lviv. And the investor who bought it is a big IT company, and they are planning to make there a big cluster for IT industry. So this is the thing where non-productive assets have a new life, and we are happy to see the foreign investor and an investment in interest, and we are ready to help with everything we can. And thank you very much for attention.
Great, great. Thank you, Olga. I mean, to be the owner of the prison, it's something incredible. But I mean, that sounds very strange, but to be honest, it can be quite interesting history for the new office of any company, and you can have like very interesting pictures, I think, for the previous period. Michal, do you have any other comments?
Yes, I would follow on what Olga said about the perspective possibilities of investing into Ukraine, because from the risk point of view in the countries that are around, now the Ukrainian risk seems to be between the better ones, because as you may know, the situation with Belarus is complicating. There are some new sanctions going to be imposed or already have been imposed. Also, Czech-Russian bilateral relations have worsened quite rapidly, dramatically recently. So now the Ukraine, from this point of view, stays the safe country from this perspective. So I will be looking forward to see some Czech investors who are interested, and in a couple of minutes I will have a meeting here with small Czech company which somehow is considering some small investment into Ukraine, by the way. So I will try to motivate him because what I have heard today is really promising. That's from my side.
Great, great. I mean, it's nice that we end with very positive news. I mean, you said that in comparison with our neighbors, we are a bit in a better situation. It's also good because, I mean, in comparison, probably yes. And to be honest, I need to say that we do have very simple, easy way of starting business in Ukraine. And I think that we have quite good taxation system. We do have some complications in communication with tax authorities, but I think it's always a problem. But yes, there are certain advantages for any investor in Ukraine. And at this point, I would like to thank everyone, especially who has contributed in any way, in any one or another way of organization of this event and the outcomes of this event. It was a pleasure to discuss the topic with such a professional speakers. Just to mention one more time the partners of today's event. So it is Expert Guarantee and Insurance Corporation YGAP. Also a local Czech law firm PRK, our media partner Kyiv Post, also with the support of the Embassy of Ukraine in Czech Republic, and ourselves, organizer GOLAW law firm. We will be very happy to continue the dialogue with all the clients, with all the investors further. Feel free to contact us or any other speaker of this event. Thank you very much to all of you.